talking about sustainability and fashion and how you can do that for your brand or for the place you work, I can start first, and it can start with actually the dyeing process and the sourcing. So there's eco-friendly ways of dyeing. When I was visiting India, it wasn't very sustainable. But now they have different ways of doing it with like vegetable dyeing and stuff like that, so that it's not as much chemicals as it once was. So you can start with that. You can start with like organic cotton and that kind of thing, recycled yarn. So that's, some ways to start at the beginning of the production process.
The way they use the water, because they just use the same water. Each color has their own bucket of water, and once they start to mix, they just make a whole different color. So it was interesting the way they kind of conserve those colors. After you dip your fabric in the wax, you take it out, you lay it out, they're going to conserve that color to use on somebody else's instead of keep adding.
So I mean, that's one way to start it. So I mean, once you get to the cutting process, it's different ways you can cut your garment so that there's less waste when you're doing your marker. Like, I mean, a marker basically is how you cut out the pattern in the production sense. Like if you home sew, you can, how you lay out your pattern like on a 45 or a 60 wide fabric. That's what you call like a marker. So it's how well you lay out your pattern so there's less waste.
I used to always laugh at quilters because they was like, no piece of fabric is too small. And I was like, yeah, it is. Now I'll take those smaller pieces and maybe make earrings or, something like that.
I mean, I really wish there were more places where you can donate. I know there's a place like in New York and Brooklyn that you can actually donate your scrap. It's not necessarily donate because you do have to pay for them to take it. It's better because they dispose of it better. I don't know the process in which they do it, but it's done in a sustainable way so that the waste doesn't go to a landfill.
Like a scrap yard for craft fabric. So they get sewing machines, just all kinds of stuff that they sell there.
It's a need, but also especially with the fabrics, there's nothing worse cutting fabric out and you have like a big hole in the middle of your fabric and you got all of this yardage all around. It's like, well, what else can I make from this? You know what? I'm about to make a bag, a wallet, some earrings, a hat.
I mean, at a point I was actually making it wasn't necessarily pillows, but it was like seat cushions, because you can put all your scraps in that. I mean, as long as it's like the same type of fabric, so nothing's bulging. Like if it's all cotton, you can actually put it in there together. I mean, because it's so many different ways you can do it. And of course, that brings us to like upcycling. So instead of throwing your clothes away, you can upcycle everything. And that's like a big trend now.
So with the bleaching, now I had this one client send me her dress because she got a little bleach on. I'm like, well, I'm just going to add a little bit of bleach and now I'll just like tie dye it to a whole different color. After I looked at it, I was like, man, that's actually nice. Wait a minute. Doggone it, I did not think about that. And I took a picture of the before and I took a picture of the after. Completely different dress. But then I gave it back to her. And I was just in there trying everything. Like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna try this design with bleach and this design with the Brit dye. Don't do bleach on everything because it kind of breaks down your the fibers.
Yeah, and you can't just do bleach straight. You have to dilute it with water.
Yeah. Okay. So remember that, everybody. You cannot, under no circumstances, are we telling you to just use regular bleach. Dilute it. Coming back and saying, I got 3rd-degree burns. Dilute it. Try it out and then send us some of your designs.
One thing that I didn't mention, I've mentioned like natural yarns for sustainability. What I didn't mention was they do have polyester yarns, but what they do is they like recycle bottles and stuff like that. So it's basically you use plastic bottles and you melt it down and you make fibers for the polyester. So now in some garments, especially in like athletic wear, which I do design for, in consultants, they do have a lot of recycled yarn. So a lot of in addition to the organic, they have a lot of recycled yarns, and that's another way to stay sustainable in the fashion industry.
Upcycle.
There's so many different ways to do it, and the price actually has come down a lot, like since the inception of it. It's just that you really have to see what the steps between how you get the sourcing, how you get the fabric, and how everything is made in between the thing. That the anatomy of actually the sourcing. When I actually had to just go through everything and say that I couldn't use, I didn't need it because I wasn't using it. There's a place in New York called Material for the Art, and they take like fabrics and craft stuff and stuff, and they basically donate it to nonprofits around the city. So you feel good about giving it because they give it and it's having another use. So like if I have like zippers, buttons, stuff like that I don't use, I actually had like a truck full of stuff and I drove to them and I just gave everything away. So it's as long as it's being used some way, someone is using it, it doesn't go to the landfill. So I think that's it. If you have any other ideas of how to stay sustainable in the fashion industry, please leave it in the comment. But for now, I am Zahia from Region Design Lab with
Naima from Fearless Threads
and Letitia from Keeping Your Stitches. Until next time.